Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are solving another puzzle, and today's puzzle is the Hanayama Dolce puzzle, which is a level 3 out of a possible 6 on the Hanayama difficulty scale. And given that it is a level 3 and given that there is just 2 pieces to this puzzle, my suspicion is that it's not going to be too challenging. To put it another way, I'm not in fear of us not being able to solve this one in... I don't want to put a time cap on it because more than likely I will eat my words. So it shouldn't be too long, we should solve it. It's level 3, there's 2 pieces to it. Although having said that, 2 pieces to a puzzle doesn't make any difference whatsoever, especially when you look at the rotor puzzle. That's one of the hardest ones that you can do, and there is just 2 pieces to that. Anyway, that is enough blabbing on about 2-piece puzzles. Let's crack on with attempting to solve this one. We will then attempt to reassemble it back into its original position, and then as always we will place it on our leaderboard. Easiest puzzles down here, hardest puzzles up here, everything in between going left to right, bottom to top. Let's crack on with it. Okay, so here is the Dolce puzzle. First impressions are that it is massive and it is solid. This is a heavy, big puzzle. But it also doesn't look like it should be that tough for us to solve. I mean, you can see in here all the various different grooves going around. There's a bit of a slit in there. And then there's the same thing in here. Various different grooves. We've got an engraving of AY in there, not sure why that is, and in there. But yeah, it doesn't look like it should be that difficult. And if you look at the box, what have we got here? Similar in style to the keychain version Sweet. I don't know what that is. We have raised the bar with this one, both in difficulty and design. It is vital to line up the ridges and grooves of the 2 pieces, as we've just said, both in taking them apart and putting them back together. Don't rush this one, take your time and enjoy the Vita Dolce. Designed by Japanese designer Akio Yamamoto. Cool, right. What can we do? So as it says, lining up the various grooves and things is the important part, and it's probably important to line up these parts of each puzzle. So obviously this cross, this arrow with each other to get to certain positions. Obviously the simple thing to do is, obviously you can see that this bit here is thinner, the gap is here, but they don't quite slide out from this position. Because these bits all get in the way. So maybe instead of coming out this way, it sort of goes in or across in that position. But as we can see here, there is a groove that probably allows us to be in the right position. So we've got a thinner bit here, we've got a slanty thinner bit there. I feel like if that groove was on this side, we'd be able to use that gap to separate them. So maybe we have to get this onto this side. Can we somehow go around the whole puzzle? That fits in there quite nicely. Now there is a lot of different ridges and grooves, like it said on the box. So maybe it is a series of different moves that gets us separated. And you can also see how differently these shapes are in here. That shape relative to that shape in there. So obviously we use that side for something. I mean, it makes sense if it's something like that. or if it's this bit of the silver piece itself. This is the sort of puzzle that I like. Like, this one is, I can't imagine it's going to be too difficult to get apart, but I think it's just going to be one very nice and perfectly fitting move that we find that'll separate this for us. That's extremely close, but not quite big enough to fit by the looks of it. Or maybe it is. Yeah, there it is. So it does fit over there nice and perfectly. Can't believe it's taken me that long to find that position, to be honest. It does fit perfectly past there. Then maybe we come back on into that position. And does that then... what does that do? So we've come back on in that position, which again fits perfectly, so feels like the right thing to do. And are we then in a better position to separate this bit again? Ooh, I think it wasn't this way, but I think that is another progression. So, there. Where was that other move? I feel like I've missed out. For putting it back together, I feel like I'm gonna lose out on something there. So now obviously we've got one part of the cross through there. And can we then position, obviously, like, we've not really used this groove here yet, I don't think, or we may have done actually in coming across, but obviously we're just too tight to fit it out of that spot there. So maybe if we bring this other, that's interesting. So the only reason we could get this bit out is because we were hooked up in here with that one. And that's why we have the difference in shape in here that we pointed out earlier. Yeah, I love this sort of puzzle. It's simple, but it's extremely clever. Just can't quite fit out of that side. We can get to here. It doesn't feel like it's an accident, so I feel like the next sort of progressions, if you like, should be from a similar position. So maybe now we hook on to there. This point seems to be the furthest that I can get to at the minute. I can't find where the next move is. Assuming that we've sort of come the right way to get to here. So this was the original position. We slide over here and we're in the perfect spot. So that's a bit of an angle to get to there. We flip over, we slide on there. Then we can come around to here and slide on there. We can get to here, but then where? Where's the next one? Those all feel too good to not be the way through. I'm wanting to sort of just do the same as we've done with this piece to get these two out. Maybe that's not the thing. Maybe we're not there yet. So maybe if we come back and get that bit out. We came from there, but maybe there's somewhere else we can go first. Can we come off there? Doesn't seem like it. Hey! That was sort of by accident, right? but we've separated it. I'll try and figure out how that happened in a second. Wait, how did that fall out then? Somewhere in there. Somewhere in there. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But that is the Dolce puzzle solved. Oh, that took longer than I thought. So 15, 16 minutes, something like that. But yeah, now let's figure out how that last bit fell out and then undo it all to put it back into its original position. So the first thing I need to do is get the orientation of this piece right. I think we were this way around when it came out. That was the bit that was hooking on, so it was these two bits, this bit and this bit, that came out last. There it is. So it's a little bit of a twist in there. So here, around to there. That's very slick. That is sort of as precise as you can get. The last move is just sliding that over the top of there and back together. So not long at all to put back together. That was sort of, I've learned to memorize the moves or try and remember the moves as best as I possibly can as we are going through it. But that is a very, very nice puzzle. I really like that one. That is probably going up there with one of my favorites. I like how solid it is. I like how precise each move is, but how slick and not easy to find, but how straightforward it actually is. That's brilliant. The genius part is always the simple puzzles. Yeah, brilliant. Right, we've taken it apart, we've put it back together, and now we're going to place it on our leaderboard. So there it is. We managed to disassemble it, we managed to reassemble it, and as I've just said, I really enjoyed this one. I like the solid puzzles. There's nothing hollow about it. It's a good quality make, as nearly all Hanayama's are, and it's just nice. Each solution or each move to solving it is just slick. Everything fits perfectly. There's nothing that can fit somewhere accidentally. The precision in the making of puzzles like this is genius. So I would highly recommend getting the Dolce puzzle for yourself. It's not too challenging, but it's extremely enjoyable. But the next most important question is, where's it going to go on the leaderboard? Now, it's not the most challenging one that we've done, so we're definitely looking at bottom two shelves at the very most. And if we were to compare it to anything else that's sort of similar, the closest thing is probably the S&S puzzle down here, which is also a level 3, also 2 pieces, and also 2 or 3 super precise moves that separate them in the end. So I guess the question is, which one's harder? I think if we go below the S&S to the spiral puzzle, the spiral's a level 5, but in my opinion it's not very difficult at all. I think the Dolce puzzle is probably a little bit harder than the spiral, so we're definitely not going lower than that. But if we go above the S&S, we've got the coil and the violon. It's not harder than the violon. The violon's got 3 pieces and it's 1 move, but it's sort of a little bit... The violon's just harder to find. Like the Dolce puzzle, you can figure out how it's going to solve. The violon is sort of, well, for me it was find it when it came rather than looking for something specific. Before the violon, we've got the coil puzzle. The coil's very similar in that there's 2 pieces. You sort of know how you're going to solve it and you have to find the right route through it. I think based on the moves required to solve the coil, I think the coil is harder, so the Dolce is going to sit, well, nice and simple. Then we've got it at least below the coil and above the spiral. It's just which side of the S&S is the Dolce going to sit. I think part of me wants the Dolce to go above the S&S. I'm not sure why. I think in terms of favoritism, I definitely enjoyed the Dolce more than the S&S. It's a bigger puzzle, it's more shiny, which isn't a good reason to rate it on difficulty. But head is not going to rule over heart. The SNS is more difficult than the Dolce, so we're going to sit just below the SNS and just above the level 5 spiral puzzle. So there we go, that is puzzle number 47 done. We are getting closer to completing the Hanayama collection and then ranking it on our own leaderboard. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for being here. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Dolce puzzle. And if you want to see me solve more of these Hanayama puzzles and then the step-by-step solutions to each and every one of them, we'll be doing the Dolce one in a couple of weeks' time. Then click my face here to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace!